Welcome to our very first Women in Digital breakfast at Sitecore Symposium. We are very, very excited. So this week we've been talking a lot about power. It's kind of been the through line for a lot of the conversations that we've been having. The power to build, the power to imagine and to explore. How do you build, protect, and use the power that you've earned over the course of your career so far? And Kathy, I'm gonna make you start with this one.
I think all along the way, how do you use that power? We know so many people in our lives. Like, how do we help every other person do the best work they can do? How do we lift them up? How do we support them? Someone who constantly gives feedback, but also how do you sponsor for people when they're not in the room, right? And ensure that what's important to them and their opportunities are spoken for in those rooms they're not in.
All of us have power in our day-to-day. We know what it is to not have power. You feel repressed, you feel like you can't do anything, you can't affect change, you can't do something to speak to your own moral values. And so when you have the ability to make change and you have the ability to influence others, I think the best thing you can do is just sort of look within and try to be the best person you want to be. And by virtue of that, you start making a better world for those around you. If you're blessed enough to become a leader, I think it's your job and your stewardship to make sure that it's okay for others at whatever point in their career they're at, that they feel valued at work. Everybody wants to do a good job. Sometimes we create environments where they don't feel like they're doing a good job. And so if you are in the seat like we are at this moment in our careers, I think that's what we should do. That's what our obligation is to do.
And depending on how you were raised, we're often taught to value humility and selflessness over characteristics that are typically celebrated in men, like ambition, confidence, and competitiveness. So how does that sit with you? Do women have to try to be more like men in order to be successful?
To me, and I was an athlete, a very young gymnast, and so hearing from Katie Ledecky yesterday, it makes me think about these are the attributes of athletes, right? Ambition, being courageous, being brave, and so that's something that's really just been part of my life and not something I thought of as masculine or feminine. And my dad used to say that in a house full of boys, they're all outnumbered. But it's really like how you apply it. And I think to be conscious when you are trying to defer the recognition that you've received from something you've done. If you've done it or you've done most of it or you made it happen in some way, it's okay to say like, yeah, I did a good job. Good job to me. But I think everyone finds their own way. I think women just need to be very conscious of the not wanting to overstep or overshine, because I think we're conditioned definitely in that way.
I do think, though, that we have to make sure that our voice is heard, and just know that if you don't speak up and share, then you're gonna walk out of that room later and just kick yourself, like, why didn't I do it? Maybe it won't land that time. Maybe someone will give you feedback on how to make it land next time, and then maybe next time you'll make it land. So I don't think we should transform who we are as people. Again, going back to what I said at the beginning, you always have to be authentic so people know who you are every time you walk into the room. But you also just have to be a good human. So.
Women make up 51% of the world's population, yet are CEOs at only 4.8% of the world's largest companies. How can we, all of us, within our sphere of influence, help move more women into positions of senior leadership?
So I've got an analogy for this. I've been at a lot of these conferences and I've heard a lot of people say, it's a race, right? It's just you're running along, all that. Here's the reality of it for women. It is, but it's a spooky, scary race. It's Halloween, and there are vampires and mummies and chainsaw murderers coming at you from all directions. It's terrifying. Not all women want to get into it because they're sensible, right? They see that like, nope, 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 nope. But for those of us that do, what we need are the people on the sidelines. Now, it's not as easy as handing me, a cup of water. It's my work bestie behind me punching a werewolf in the face to say, go, you just keep going. Or, a male colleague that's like, vampire on your left, and you just keep going. And obviously with those numbers, we don't all make it to the finish line, but there's another bunch of women behind us watching it, trying to see where you duck and weave, and they're learning from us. So while the numbers aren't great, we're all still trying to go into this really spooky, scary race and doing our best, but...
I literally have worked at companies where A, I was told I couldn't have a job because I was a female. B, decisions were made in the men's bathroom. Not joking. So we've come a ways. We have a long way still to go. I have a huge analogy that I just believe in. Like every woman and every man here in this room should be thinking about how do you lift up one hand so someone can help lift you up, and how do you put down 5 fingers so you're bringing 5 people along the ride for you? And I think it would be great if every person in this room just walked out of this session today and said, how am I going to help?
I mean, to add on that, it's, when you take the elevator up, you send it back down. So making sure you're bringing people up with you. But to me, the other thing, and it's a very French trait, but we like to challenge all the time. So asking, how many people, we have an open leadership role. How many women are being interviewed for this? And so really, like our CDO says, put the light on the darkness. It's some things like people might not even be conscious of, but asking for the data and pushing where you can.
What do we need our allies to do in the workplace to understand, or actions they can take to help us all work toward a more equitable future?
I mean, it's about creating a little bit of space for opportunity. I think women predominantly are known to, question yourself. I'm not 100% of this job listing. And we're always trying to encourage people to just apply. And so it's even just taking another extra day to pause and make sure you get another set of resumes in, or to be bold enough to cut off the guy in the room that is mansplaining and let somebody speak and just let them have a moment. Those
Absolutely.
are things we can, and it's not, it's not just a male-female thing. It happens to certain types of men as well, people of color. It's this thing that we have this dominance because of a world that was created for other people. They want to keep it, so it's up to us to try to just create just a little bit of a space for the bold ones to just kind of muscle through and start making change. That's what it takes.
Right, and like you said, having male coworkers there to punch the werewolf, to really stand up for you, and even when they're having bathroom conversations, to say but I think MJ did really well on that project. So you need the leaders and the champions in those quiet moments too, not just in the big meeting room.
And I'm really curious to hear from each of you, as you look at your definition of success, how has that changed for you as you've been aging in your careers? And does the thoughts of the legacy that you leave start to come in to that picture? So I'm just curious to hear that and how it relates to, your authenticity as a woman in the space that you're in.
So starting my career in New York, it's hyper competitive. So you're chasing the next title, the next promotion, the next paycheck. And, can I make enough to not have 5 roommates in my 1 bedroom? So it was really intense. And to me, that was success, right? Every 2 years, next job, next job, next job. I think now, when I look up and the hours these people are working, I'm like, I don't know if that's success. I think for me now, a little bit it was back then, but doing an interesting job, doing something that's really engaging, really fun, really motivates me. And I think, to me, legacy, I was a gymnastics coach. I love working with kids. And so to me, legacy is about being a manager that I wish I had, right, coming up. And so that's where I can leave that mark, I hope, on some of the people I've worked with over time. And hopefully they become managers that they would like to see too.
My core values are family, impact, and joy. And when I feel successful, it's when I make all 3 of those work really, really well together. I think the stage I'm at now, back when I was younger, it was all about what is that thing I need to learn or do, and always looking, maybe it's because I'm in marketing, what's that headline when I leave that role that I want to have about the impact I made, again, being one of those values of mine. Now today, it's all about who gets promoted. Like, when people from my team write me and say, I just got promoted, I'm now a CMO, like, oh, that's like success for me. I love that. So it's really, how do I help others, like, reach their dreams, reach that next level if that's what they want, and, you know, do it within their own personal values as well.
Thank you for this. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you to Sitecore. And I really hope we can do this again next year. Let's make this a tradition.